Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. So, you know how sometimes you stumble upon a book that just clicks? A book that feels like it was written just for you, or for that nagging feeling you've had bubbling under the surface? Well, I recently devoured Unfuck Your Anxiety by Dr. Fate Harper, and honestly, it's one of those rare gems that makes you go, holy cow, why didn't anyone tell me this sooner? It's part of her 5-minute therapy series, and don't let the tiny book thing fool you. As she mentions herself, people kept telling her they got more from it than those $50 doorsteps out there. This little powerhouse is all about helping us understand and, well, rewire our anxious brains using science, but in a way that feels incredibly approachable and real. No academic fluff, pinky swear. What I immediately loved about this book is its honesty. Dr. Harper doesn't beat around the bush. She opens by saying, "Stop being anxious has never worked in the history of ever." And isn't that the truth? We've all heard it, or even told ourselves that, right? But if you were hooked up to a lie detector, your body would be screaming bloody murder that you are clearly as unfine as fuck. It's a health issue, a public health crisis even, she argues. And she's not just saying it to plagiarize, it's scientifically true. Anxiety, she explains, isn't a sign of weakness or that you're broken or batshit crazy. Instead, it's how our brains are literally wired to protect us, an evolutionary survival mechanism. When those ancient protective memories get triggered, rational thought goes right out the window, and your body jumps straight into do something to fix this mode. So, if you've ever felt like your brain gets hijacked by anxiety, she totally gets it, and she's here to help you get your life back. Now, you might be wondering, okay, but what is anxiety really? Is it just stress? That's a great question and something the book dives deep into. The American Psychological Association gives a pretty dry definition about tension and worried thoughts and physical changes, but Dr. Harper says that undersells the carnival funhouse that anxiety really is. She connects it to this fascinating philosophical shift that happened around the 19th century. Before that, in the 17th century, the big idea was rational reason emotions were seen as information, important signals, even if not the boss of our decisions. But then came technical reason, which decided emotions had no place in decision making at all, leading us to just repress them. It's no wonder then that anxiety became such an unavoidable problem in the 19th century. As psychologist Roland May noted back in 1950, he believed anxiety is an integral part of the human condition, something to live with and learn from, not just suppress. And it makes sense that anxiety pops up when we feel our unique selves are denied on a huge cultural level. But Dr. Harper doesn't stop there, because as she points out, the field of psychology has historically been dominated by privileged European and European American men, whose experiences might shape how they theorize anxiety. She introduces us to relational cultural theory, pioneered by women in academia in the 1970s. Their radical ideas, which make so much sense now, are that human beings are hardwired to connect and crave interdependence, not just independence. And here's the kicker: if your world is constantly disrupted because of who you are, what you look like, or where you live, if you lack privilege, you are far more susceptible to mental health issues and less likely to get the right treatment. So, it's not just our personal wiring, it's also that emotions matter, privilege matters, relationships matter, and we live in a time where all these things are undervalued and dismissed. This really opened my eyes to how much of our modern anxiety isn't new, but exacerbated by societal shifts since the industrial age. So what does this whole carnival funhouse of anxiety actually feel like? Dr. Harper lists a ton of symptoms, from the obvious like excessive worry and rumination, the hamster wheel thinking, to less obvious ones like irritability and anger, which she says is often a culturally allowed substitute for what we're really feeling. Physically, it's everything from trouble sleeping and muscle tension to chronic indigestion, racing heart, dizziness, and even those weird shooting pains or electric shock feelings. And some of the lesser-known symptoms totally blew my mind: perfectionism, indecisiveness, brain fog, and fatigue. Ever felt like you were losing it or going crazy because of some of these? That's anxiety at work, demanding your full attention like a naked raging toddler running through the street in a snowstorm with a fistful of gummy bears in one hand and a bloody machete in the other. quite a visual, right? Her working definition really drives it home. Anxiety is a state of full-body disequilibrium at a level of intensity that demands immediate attention and corrective action, whether the threat is real, perceived, present, or anticipated. Now, the scene shit, as she calls it, really helps to understand why this happens. Our fear circuits are practically the same as our anxiety circuits, the only difference being that fear responds to a specific threat, while anxiety responds to a non-specific one. When you're stressed, your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal or PA axis gets activated, releasing adrenaline and then cortisol. Adrenaline gives you that immediate ready for action feeling, increased heart rate, blood pressure, expanded pupils. Cortisol, the stress hormone, builds up slower and dissipates slower, making it a good measure of chronic stress. And here's the kicker: chronic cortisol is a total asshole. It changes your metabolism, suppresses your immune system, increases amygdala activation, the brain's alarm bell, and decreases hippocampal activity, which normally tells the amygdala to chill out. This is why you feel like you can't think straight when you're really stressed out, because you can't think straight when you're really stressed out. It's like being stuck in fifth gear while driving a car. So, if you're feeling all this, how do you know if it's just anxiety or an actual anxiety disorder? She puts it simply: clinically speaking, if you say it's a problem, I will agree that it's a problem. But for those who want a more formal check, she mentions the overall anxiety severity and impairment scale, WASES, from the knee, which is free and research-backed. It asks questions like how often you felt anxious in the past week, how intense it was, and how much it interfered with your work, home life, or relationships. And it's eye-opening to see how common these disorders are. Almost 30% of the US population will experience a diagnosable illness level of anxiety at some point. It's the most common psychiatric diagnosis. One of the most profound takeaways for me was how she talks about unfuck your anxiety. It starts with recognizing that anxiety allows us to anticipate and plan, but also traps us in all the horrible ways life can go wrong. So what do? She lists 5 key things. First, self-care, and she means real self-care, not just a nice mug of tea. It's also going to the dentist, making a budget, and doing the ongoing not always fun stuff forever. Second, talk about it, not emotional vomiting, but explaining your reactions. Something like, I'm totally having a blokus anxiety moment right now. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but today has been fucked for me. I'm gonna go grab some water and be back in a second. She emphasizes that people can be incredibly supportive if you give them a chance. Third, ask for help. This one hit me hard because she says it takes far more courage and strength to ask for and receive help than it does to give help. Give people a chance. Be specific in your requests. Fourth, create. Rollo May, the philosopher she mentioned earlier, found that the best way to manage anxiety is to sit with it, and creative people are best at this. So write, make art, put things out into the world to be more authentically you, anxiety and all. And fifth, know your rights. If your anxiety is really impacting work or school, you have legal protections under the ADA for accommodations. That's pretty empowering, isn't it? She also offers practical disrupting the signal short-term anxiety management tools. My favorite, name that bastard, giving your anxiety a goofy name like Donald Trump's epic hair swirl. Gives you someone to battle, negotiate with, or even lock in a box. It takes that nebulous feeling and makes it concrete. She also recommends deep breathing, which literally counteracts the chemicals flooding your body, creating coping cards with helpful mantras, riding the wave of anxiety for 5 minutes instead of fighting it because avoidance makes it worse. And even putting ice on it. Seriously, squeezing an ice cube can disrupt the signal and redirect your brain's focus away from the anxiety. That one is a genius move for self-injury urges too, or just for those spinning thoughts. The book delves into lifestyle changes, which it calls foundational support. Diet, for example. Turns out, deficiencies in B vitamins, iron, zinc, magnesium, and omega-3s are linked to anxiety. And what's good for your gut? Probiotics, fermented foods, antioxidants is good for anxiety. Reducing ultra-processed foods by just 30 can make a huge difference. And caffeine? Yeah, that's on the naughty list for a good reason. It impacts our anxiety response directly. Supplements are also discussed, but she cautions against cheap crap, emphasizing quality whole food supplements, adaptogens like ashwagandha for balance. and Irving's calming herbs like chamomile and movement, or play as she prefers to call it, changes our attention control, inhibits anxiety responses in the brain, and even activates those magical endocannabinoids for free. What about traditional medical interventions? She covers talk therapy, noting that most people don't get relief from medication alone. She breaks down BT, exposure therapy, especially good for phobias, BT, and your approaches like medication-sensitive therapy, focusing on how we think about our thoughts, not what we think, and somatic therapy, getting in touch with your bodily responses. She also touches on medications like inquisitilis benzos for short-term use, with serious warnings about misuse and overdose risk, and antidepressants for smears, atypicals, etc. But she stresses the importance of asking your prescriber why you're taking something, what side effects to expect, and how long it's intended for. Beyond that, she talks about other complementary therapies that our ancestors used before modern medicine dismissed them as woo-woo bullshit. Things like acupuncture, which connects to the vagus nerve system, a huge player in stress response, biofeedback nerve, playing video games with your brain to train it, chiropractic care, energy healing like reflexology and Reiki, yes. Devot even uses it now, and massage, and weighted blankets. She keeps one in her office, and it's the most loved therapy hack she has. What really struck me is her emphasis on natural supports, the people who love you just because you belong to them, and peer supports, those who've walked a similar path and truly understand. Finding your people, whether online or in person, is incredibly important when you're struggling. Finally, the book really encourages longer-term self-training to rewire your brain. One major tool is learn optimism, a concept from Martin Seligman. It's about training yourself to see bad events as temporary setbacks. Keeping failures in their proper place. Sucking at basketball doesn't make you a lame human being, and blaming bad events on circumstances rather than yourself. She introduces an optim model: adversity, belief, consequences, dispute, energization, to challenge your net gremlins and create new stories. This isn't about fake hype, it's about grounded self-efficacy. She encourages us to ask, is there evidence for my belief? Are there alternatives? What are the implications? Is this useful? Another powerful technique is cognitive diffusion from acceptance and commitment therapy. Instead of saying I'm too awkward, you say, I'm noticing that I'm having a thought about being too awkward. This separates you from the thought, recognizing it as something you have, not something you are. It's a subtle but profound shift that can make your body feel lighter. And she strongly advocates for embracing challenge stress through mindset training. Kelly McGonigal, author of The Upside of Stress, says embracing stress is a radical act of self-trust. Instead of trying to calm down when anxious, the brain finds it easier to jump to I'm excited. It's about recognizing that our stress response is activated because something matters to us, then using that energy to carry us through. She uses the good acronym for mindset training: gratitude, openness to possibilities, opportunities, and this experience. And determine. Visualizing success and being prepared, she argues, makes you more proud of yourself for giving it your all, even if days don't go perfectly. So what's the big takeaway from Unfuck Your Anxiety? It's that anxiety isn't this mysterious, unbeatable monster. It's a complex, multi-layered experience rooted in our biology, our personal history, and the chaotic world around us. But by understanding the why our brains are doing what they're doing to try and protect us, we gain a new weapon. We can start to control something we don't understand. The book truly empowers you to fight for yourselves and fight for the people we love, even, or fucking hell, especially then. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by anxiety, misunderstood, or just plain tired of being told to just calm down, this book is for you. It offers practical, science-backed strategies alongside deep empathy and a no-nonsense approach. It's not a magic bullet, but it provides the tools, the understanding, and the permission to start investing in your own self-worth and self-care, which, as Dr. Harper says, is the most radical thing you can do. I highly recommend picking it up if any of this resonated with you. It truly feels like having a compassionate, badass friend guiding you through the messy, carnival funhouse of anxiety, helping you find your way back to yourself.